Whew, out here doing yard work. Um, some came to me. People can know directly that Yah is speaking to them. You know, they can maybe not exactly hear a voice, but they can be compelled to say some things that are not violating Torah at all, very much in the flow of Torah. But in doing so, they may lose someone. The person may take offense. They would be telling the person the truth. But of course, fear kicks in. Fear that they may lose the person, that they may offend the person, that they may violate some, I guess, man law or woman law or relationship law, friend law. All of these different things that are made up by society norms that really conflict with Scripture. You know, it's like, okay, I'm not going to say this, or I need to find a way to say this so that I don't offend them. And I get it. You know, you could probably, figure a subtle way or a gentle way or whatever, or a way that's more palatable. But sometimes you just got to say it. I've, I don't operate, basically wanting to walk around on eggshells dealing with people, like basically always in fear that I could lose their friendship or their relationship. No, I hate losing relationships. I've lost two valuable ones in this last year. And, basically it showed me that maybe they weren't as valuable as I perceived them to be. The way they were lost was so easy basically. I was speaking, on a topic with one situation. It wasn't directly at the person. It had nothing to do with the person, but they didn't like the conversation, and they hadn't liked it for a while. But instead of them letting me know that it offended them, that they were bothered, they let it go on for months at a time, and then they basically blew up on me. The other one, they told me one thing, and basically everything showed something differently. And when I asked them about it and kind of, you could say checked them on it, instead of them replying or dealing with it, they start basically ghosting me, stop answering my calls and all that stuff. And so I took that as a hint. After a month passed, I basically, just like, okay, I moved on with life, and they never even reached out afterwards. So I was like, oh, I guess that answered it all. So eventually I removed them from friend lists and all this other stuff. But I don't know. In this ministry walk, in this life walk, is so many different things that come up, and you gotta be real. If I see a husband going out of his way to be, um, I guess, friendly to another woman besides their wife, I'm gonna call him on it. If it seems like it's out of the way, and a lot of times you may make a mistake. Maybe it's a childhood friend or whatever. But hey, if it looks inappropriate, you have a right to say, hey, what's going on? Especially if that person is in covenant with you, in a relationship with you. Once you find out what it is, then you move from there. But if you feel that something's going on, why basically walk around feeling uncomfortable, basically with a lack of peace? That makes no sense. That basically you're having thoughts about this person, feeling uncomfortable dealing with this person, but yet not being honest to share that. What kind of relationship was that if you're, again, walking on eggshells? If you feel like it's going to break, maybe it's time for it to break, and maybe it's time to go find something else. Relationships should build in strength, and they should grow, not always be on eggshells. You should be able to have hard discussions. Those are things like, okay, I know that friendships are not the same as marriage, but in marriage, you learn from your offenses. Friendships can be the same way. Instead of you always finding out by doing stuff, they could let you know, or when you get close to something that's in their eyes a violation, let you know, and then you can make the choice to either move differently or say, oh, I'm not doing that. Sometimes these imaginary lines that's there, they don't get discussed. They really don't. People, I know men, they don't like to communicate. I'm one that communicates a lot, so that in itself makes a lot of men uncomfortable. I tell men I love them all the time. I hug men, and a lot of people don't like all of that physical interaction. They don't like to hear those words because they've never had that go about. I'm not going to stop being who I am. And if that's the relationship, I get it. I do have to be wise with it, and I have to respect their boundaries. So if they don't like to hug, I get it. I won't hug. But I'm like, it can't be where, I can't hug anyone around them. I may not hug them, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna lock up and not hug anyone. Now that's a little bit too controlling. You can respect their boundaries, but they should not be able to put boundaries on you dealing with other people. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that, you don't respect somebody's wishes when it comes to dealing with them. Yes, you do. But when it comes to dealing with others, they shouldn't be able to control you on that. That doesn't make sense. That really doesn't. Yeah. Some people do want to have those type of engagements and relationships with people. They say, "Oh, I'm not friends with this person. You can't be friends with them," or they may not say it. They go about it. I've had quite a few people on Facebook because I was engaging with other folks, just basically unfriend me. Especially, dealing with mores. They've done that. A couple of different mores have done me like that. And I'm not speaking about Great Awakening mores, but it's mores through the Hebraic walk, not in Great Awakening, have done that. I was like, wow. I talked about it with my brother Marquise, and I was just like, man, this just doesn't make sense. you know, but it happened. And I'm like, some people feel like if you're friends with their enemies or whatever, or people that they label their enemies, then, you're bringing information back to that person. And I'm like, I don't even, on Facebook, most of the people on Facebook, I don't deal with them regularly. I really don't. I got people that I personally deal with because I know them, been knowing them. I don't know. It is what it is. But again, this whole walking on eggshells, this whole mindset of, people wanting to control other folks or manipulating people and pressuring them into operating like they operate. It's like, that's not for me. I'm an outlier. I'm seeing I'm bugging a lot of people by saying that I don't need to be under anybody's headship or leadership. Everybody keep telling about they operating in the new covenant, but in the new covenant it says that Yah will directly teach you. So how you gonna say you in the new covenant, but yet that part you leave out? Doesn't make sense to me. But hey, have at it. If that's what y'all want to do, have at it. I'm not forcing how I do things on anyone. Do things the way you feel comfortable. I'm sharing advice and thoughts. A lot of times, me and my stuttering tongue. A lot of times I'm finding out, I'm out of the loop, and so things don't really fit. Me talking about stuff for single folks. I haven't been single in over 19, 20 years. So I have nothing in common with a single person as far as relationship. And what I did have as a single person, I was a whore. I was not really a good character person at that time. So how can I put my values now and superimpose them over, my life back then, or what I would do when a lot of those things didn't match? I was having a discussion with somebody talking about abortion, and I'm guilty. I paid into some abortions, in the past, but now I see it directly as murder. It's something that I would not partake in, and I'm not, even, I wouldn't even agree with now. But then, I don't know. I didn't feel like I totally agreed with it, but the fact that I paid money, I had to agree with it. I put money towards it more than once. So, guilty. You know, I cannot, make myself super sane on that one. Nah. When it come to whoremongering, I can't make myself super sane on that one. No. So much different things that, I really can't speak from a great point of reference now because I've been away from that. You know, I love my wife and I'm faithful to my wife and been faithful this whole 19 years. But what would happen if she wasn't here? And I don't even want to think about that. And so, I see folks that, have lost wives, divorced, whatever, because I've been divorced in my first marriage. And, things happen. It's easy to say, oh, wait until you get married again. And what? They've been single 5 years. I have never had a year's time. The most I've had without having any type of sexual relations is about 9, close to 11 months. And that was basically prior to marrying Angela. And that was only reason why that was is because the counselor said they were going to kick us out of counseling. And so that threat in itself, it was more of a fear. I wanted to marry her, but I was still dealing with the baggage of my ex marriage, and when they put that ultimatum out there, it's like, ooh, I knew I needed help because I'm still kind of a hot mess, but I'm nowhere in the hot mess that I was then. Yeah. It was a help to go through counseling, and a lot of that stuff I try to share with people. I'm always open and sharing stuff that's applicable to the times. I know people will think that I share a whole lot, but I don't share anything that's I guess to me, anything that's threatening towards my way of life. I'm not operating in sin. I'm not operating in transgressions of the law and stuff like that. But I have baggage. I have a lot of things that from my past life I did things that, you know, could be detrimental. Things I've discussed with my wife, but why discuss it with anyone else? The things that I have victory over, yes, I can speak on those things. You know, and sometimes you can have victory in the area and still have a relapse. I was thinking about today about rejection and how it left me open. I had a couple of different females that rejected me that basically in that rejection I put them on this high pedestal, and when I look at it, it's like they don't compare with my wife at all. And these were, before my wife and everything, but still, it just, at that time back then, I put them on this high pedestal, and then, I look at them now and I'm like, okay, what was the draw? What was the attraction? And I think the greatest thing is that they rejected me, and so I wanted to prove to them that they were wrong. You know, that's not good. And I see how I kind of have an idea where that birthed from. I actually believe that birthed from my father not being a part of my life and seeing that rejection, and basically feeling like, okay, I want to prove to him that I was worth his time, and that um, I was a quality person or whatever. Because I'm like, when I had my first two children, I sought that man out hard because I wanted to show him I'm here for my children. You were never there for me. I want to show you. And it was not a pure intent at all. I want to rub it in his face and say, you weren't here for me. Sad thing though, the funny thing, the year that my son was born is the year that my dad died, my father died, and I didn't even know. I found out many, many years later that he died that year. Because, like I said, I had only seen the man 5 times in my life. Physically seen him 5 times. I talked to him on the phone and stuff like that, but I only seen him 5 times in my life. And so he had no influence on me positively, I guess. I have a lot of characteristics. He was a whoremonger, so I got that. I was a whoremonger. He wrote poetry, so I write poetry. he had insecurities and stuff, and a lot of things I found out, he had a home life where his father wasn't there himself. And so, once I found out after he died and stuff like that, a lot of things about him, I actually started feeling compassion and feeling, that okay, I I I was wrong in this matter, you know, and I kind of got to see what it means by honor thy father and thy mother, because I cussed that man out one time because he lied to me. He would always have me geeked up and have me looking forward to things, and whenever I mentioned it, my grandmother would say, "He lying to you. It ain't gonna happen." Yeah, he gonna say he gonna do it. He gonna do it. I believe it, and it wouldn't happen. And they was like, you need to stop keeping your hope or getting your hope up. Whenever that man tell you something, it ain't gonna come to fruition. It ain't gonna come. It ain't gonna happen. And my mama would never say nothing negative. She would just sit there. She would just sit there. And honestly, it'd be many times that I really wanted my father more than my mother, because all I knew was my mother. And it wasn't that she didn't treat me well. My mother, she loved on me as much as she could, even though other people made it so hard for her to love on me. My mother was an awesome mother. She really fits her name, Linda Carter, Wonder Woman. But of course, a male child needs a father. They need a male example. Me hearing from my grandmother that, basically, if you want anything done right, you get a woman to do it. I believe that, and so it's so many things that had me looking down on myself, and I can't really blame that on my grandmother, because I find out stuff even happened with her. A lot of women go through damage from men, and then the next generation of men that come from those women end up damaged, and then it's just perpetually keep going on. And so I could see how they could facilitate this war of the sexes, the battle of the sexes. But in truth, it comes down to we need each other. And that's true of even, the nation of Israel, or any nation. They need each other. We need each other to survive. We don't see that. We don't operate like that. We don't seem to trust that, but it's true. And that's, going back to my original, thought and stuff. You gotta not be in fear of telling people the truth sometimes. And a genuine relationship should be able to, withstand some truth, them hard truths. I don't know. It'd be some of the most basic things that go on that people do that they don't just get. I don't know. We used to play the dozens all the time as children and say stuff, and it'd be harsh, but the stuff was based on a lot of truth. You're telling somebody their breath smell like boo-boo, and and their breath really did stink. But instead, of helping them, hey, go brush your teeth or whatever. Because not just the core group around them knew about it, but everybody else knew about it, and that was a topic. A topic. People like to talk about when the person ain't there. When the person, basically had bad hygiene, that, was a topic. A person who lied a lot, that's a topic. And a lot of times, look, man, why don't you just stop lying? You don't have to lie to kick it. We want you around. We really enjoy your company, but we wish you would stop lying. One of my favorite friends and stuff like that in life, I started telling him about himself, and I think that in itself severed the friendship. But I'm like, dude, you don't see how dark you becoming. I'm accepting you for who you are, but you don't do anything without a drink in you. I'm like, I rode in the car with him one time before he had some alcohol in it. It was the most scariest thing ever. Him driving sober was scary. I'm not joking. It was scary. I'm like, man, I'd rather ride with you drunk, and I'm like, something is not there. And so, I stopped really hanging around him when I got married. Not because I didn't love him, but I didn't want that influence around my children and around my family. You know, I love this dude, but I never known him to be ever faithful to his wife, and you know, even he would try to bring his female friends around my wife, and I'm like, I don't want her to think that I'm okay with this, or that I'm doing the same thing in reverse, bringing women around him. And I'm like, this gotta stop. And I would let him know. I'm like, bring your wife around. But he would rather bring the other females around. And I'm like, man. And so the more I got in tune with the Most High, even in Christianity, I'm like, dude, I can't do that no more. That's it's searing my soul. I'm letting you know I love you, but that's not it. Don't bring that to my house. You can come, but not with that. Not with your drink. You know, let me know if you want to see me. We can see, but it'd be brief. And he couldn't take it. Still love him to this day. If he was to call me in need, well, yeah. I done shot many kites out there. Most people know what kites are to folks that when yeah, they have a season of sitting down. But, yeah. Just another ramble, of course. I'm gonna go and finish up this yard. And then I'm gonna shower up, and my wife did give me some Big Johns or something. She ran in some errands and stuff, but yeah. Yeah. Yah's good all the time, even when we don't perceive it and see it. Some of the things that we go through are cutting, pruning. Those limbs that are dying were dying anyway. And it's going to promote new growth. It's all about the perspective and how you see it. I go through a lot of different death and rejection in situations. And at the time, a lot of times I don't see it. But Yah wakes me up to see it. He talks to me often in my dreams. He shows me so much. And a lot of times I try to share those things with people and, directly, and not just, asking questions in my posts and stuff like that. I try to talk to people directly, and it's too weighty for them. I got friends, but, my closest friends, I don't really talk to them that often. I do talk to them, but my level of often is more than what most men have. So I probably, have given off the wrong I've given off the basically what I've given off basically is not truly accurate to most, because I'm full of talk. It lines up with my walk, yes, but I'm full of talk, and so no man I've met talks as much as me or desires to have the communication like me. So of course, one person is not going to be able to sit there and listen or deal with my communication and my questions. It just ain't gonna happen. So Facebook is basically a good way of media that I use. I use it a lot of times to talk to myself. Just like right now, I'm talking to myself again, mostly. These videos, they help me. I get to listen back to them, and I'm talking to myself. Because again, I would rather talk to a person, but a lot of times, too weighty, too weighty. The things that Yah shows me, too weighty. And of course, a lot of times it's before its time and before its season. So it is what it is. Well, Baruch Atah. I'm gonna get back to this line. I gotta just get up these debris and stuff like that. I've been edging it up, so Ahava, Baruch Atah, Hallelujah.